Please sit that way.
I think, Doug, you get us started this evening.
All right. Bucyrus City Joint Regular Committee meetings for Thursday, January 17th, 2019. Members present are Mark McKeever, Kevin Myers, Dan Wirebaugh, Bruce Truca, myself, and Andrew Schott. First up, Bucyrus City Joint Regular Committee meeting is called to order by myself at 6:01 p.m. First up, we have public participation. If anybody would like to speak to council, please step to the podium, state your name and address. None? Next up, order committee business. First up, we have Economic Development Committee. I will call that to order at 6:02 p.m. We have subcommittee appointment. I'll read the letter in here. Addressed to Bucyrus City Council dated January 4th, 2019. Reappointment of Mr. Robert Thiel to Planning Commission. Dear Council President, Mr. Thiel's current term on the Planning Commission has expired as of December 31st, 2018. I have approached Mr. Thiel about serving another term on the Commission, and he has indicated a willingness to do so. We ask you to consider the approval of reappointment of Mr. Thiel to serve another 6-year term on the City Planning Commission. Thank you, Jeff Reeser, Mayor, Chairman, Planning Commission. Also back you have the list of members currently on the Planning Commission. Do we need to send this to council for a full vote, or?
That's what you'll be doing. You need a motion to do
Yep,
that.
that's what I was.
I make a motion to accept Mr. Thiel.
Motion by Mr. McKeever. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Wirebaugh. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And that's it for economic development, so I will adjourn at 6:03 p.m.
We'll call health and safety at, well, I got 6, you said 6:03?
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll say 6:03, I got 6:02.
Sorry, I was looking to talk about it.
6:03 p.m. Item number 1 is the mutual aid agreement. Chad Schwimley, you're here just in time.
Okay.
Go ahead and fill us in.
If you'd step up to the podium, please.
Which one is this?
Mutual aid agreement.
Health and safety. Do you need the paperwork?
Yeah.
I was told you had it.
We've got it. Give me a minute.
Is this the ambulance one?
Yes. That's original, so don't walk out of here with it.
Don't walk out here, come on.
We'll chase you out the door.
Okay, this one is with the ambulance board they wanted us to cover Bucyrus Township and Liberty Township as a backup also to the ambulance service.
As
So that would be
opposed to
actually
just the
going,
city?
instead of just for the city, it would be going out to those 2 townships.
So I could shed a little light on that from the ambulance district. Part of the contract is that the provider has to secure mutual aid agreements, and we ask them to designate for every political entity that makes up the ambulance district who their backup is. So when you look, everything in the outlying areas has contiguous areas outside of the county or outside of the district. And so Bucyrus Township and Liberty Township are kind of more closer to us. Holmes Township being contiguous to the city, they go with Nevada. So that's where that request from them is coming from, that there's just nobody else that seems geographically suited for those 2 townships. I guess to add further to that, the contract does say they have to have 3 ambulances, 2 of which should be available for 911 calls. The third could be used to do a general private transport. So this would only be in times where there's high call volume, more of an emergent, or anytime you get a mass casualty, car accident with multiple patients, things like that. So this isn't, they're not asking our fire department to handle every call there. They're asking us to be a mutual aid.
When the other,
So you're saying Liberty and Bucyrus Townships?
Yes.
2 that you're saying?
As well as the city.
Liberty's up where Holmes Liberty used to be, is that, no?
Liberty Sulphur.
Sulphur Springs.
Sulphur Springs area, okay. And Bucyrus Township is?
Mount Zion.
South,
Mount-
Mount
yeah,
Zion,
Mount Zion,
okay. Well, we have here a resolution 215-2018 that we already have a 5-year agreement with Liberty Township.
That's for fire protection.
That was for fire. This is for
Ambulance service.
the ambulance,
This
the
is
ambulance
it.
service is the one that needs this one.
Okay.
I make a motion to,
Before you do, can I ask that we consider having similar legislation that authorizes the service director, because knowing that the ambulance district is on a continual 3-year cycle, do we want to consider giving the service director the authority? Because this one here was for 5 years. Do we want to give him the authority to do that again in the future, or do we just want to do this as a one-time thing for this current contract, which is, yeah, it's 3 years ago. I just wanted to throw that out there for discussion.
Would we do legislation for that, or just have a contract with them? If we're gonna have a contract, do we have to have legislation, or can you do it since it's mutual aid?
If they want a contract, is my understanding, the ambulance board, because that's their contract. So you would be authorizing the service safety director to enter into that contract. I think the broader question, if I understand what you're asking, can the service safety director be authorized to enter into mutual aid agreements without it necessarily flowing through this body? And I think, yes, that is something that's not only permissible, but probably much more convenient way to do it.
And I think almost more appropriate at times too.
Yeah. This is a little bit unique because they're looking for an actual contract, because to satisfy their contracts, the contracts get approved by this body, even though there's no cost to it. But just the service safety director having the legal authority to enter into mutual aid agreements, that's kind of what his job is. So I think you don't necessarily need that across the board, just for the random mutual aid agreements. But for the specifics of the contract that the ambulance board wants, I think he still has that authority, but I can understand whether you want the council resolution approving.
They're not asking for a resolution. They are asking just for a signature, and it can be from the fire chief or from the service director, whoever is designated. But they're just asking for a written agreement that we as a city will provide their backup to those 3 entities, the city of Bucyrus Township, and Liberty.
If they're not looking for a contract from us, then my opinion would be that the service safety director has legal authority to enter into those agreements with townships. You guys all have authority to do a resolution or anything to approve those sorts of things, and he could seek your approval. You would have the legal authority to enter into those mutual aid agreements, as long as he's not spending money in that sort of.
Mr. McKeever asked for how long. The current contract is a 3-year contract. The Ohio Revised Code says that it can be renewed once automatically, so potentially up to 6 years. At the end of that 6-year period, you have to rebid it. Current provider could win that, so we could have the same provider for a long time, or we could have it for as little as 3 years. So it's really up in the air.
But we don't deal with the provider, we deal with the ambulance district, right?
Negative. The ambulance district's contract with the provider states the provider has to secure these contracts. I think it should be the ambulance district, but that's not how they set it up. So.
Right, and just a little history on that. This has always been part of the contract, and the previous companies that were working for the ambulance district never did these with us. So it's kind of something new. That's why it's coming up.
So then we can get by today just giving our approval to the service director, and we've talked about this, and you go ahead and do it. Yeah.
I don't, there's not a need for legislation.
Thank you for bringing it to us, and yes, it sounds reasonable, that type of thing.
You all right with that, sir?
no, it's fine.
Thanks, Chad.
Okay.
Good thinking, Kevin.
Is that all you have? With originals back this way, please.
Yeah, you drove all the way here for that?
He was-
No, that was not my main.
He was gonna run out the door with those originals.
That was not my main thing when I came,
Be
so
yelling out,
Tracy, go get him. Yes.
that's why I was surprised.
You're in health and safety, right?
Right.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Just
So you
checking.
might want to just ask for a motion and to say that that's agreeable to your committee.
I will entertain a motion to allow Mr. Wagner to enter into such agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. That carries, thank you. Is there anything else to come before health and safety? Are there any topics that anybody wanted to bring up? If not, then I will adjourn health and safety at 6:11 p.m.
And I will start writing at 6:11 on Group 2 sewer bids. And Mr. Wagner, you get the floor.
Well, I'll try to make this as plain and simple as I can. We had put in the budget for the Group 2, which is Union and Baylor and South Highland. That's the part, Group 2 that Randsmith Carroll wants to go out to bid in March. We had put in the budget $915,000. They sent me the numbers today, and it was $899, $633.15. So if you add the 10% to that, it comes to $989, $629.47. And that's all going to come out of the loan sewer that we took out to do some of the sewer improvement separation. So it is a little higher, but we added 10% just to cover us. And we'll just have to, Joyce will have to reappropriate some numbers, some dollars to cover that additional 10%.
Do we have legislation we need to change? Enough to exceed?
No, I think we'll do that tonight, right?
Yeah. That's what we're looking for.
Because we didn't
tonight.
have these numbers until tonight.
That's what we're looking for tonight.
Okay.
That number 916.
Yes.
The question that we're, on group 2, now with the whole sewer project, stormwater sewer project we're doing, Group 2, most of them are getting onto a new sewer, right?
Yes, that's over on the South Highland area
Yeah.
in Union and Baylor back in there. That's that whole area there.
Okay, so they're keeping their storm system and we're putting in a new sewer. Because it varies from place to place as to exactly what's going to be happening, whichever was the easiest to do, whichever was the cheapest to do. So just to make sure that you all understand that that group is getting new sewer lines.
And part of the reason we went to Group 2 is because Group 1, we're still working on some easements. And so they've got Group 2 ready to go and want to go out to bid in probably late February, early March. So.
Okay. So what are you?
The bid itself, well, you want to authorize it, and then you're going to hand it off to finance to approve the money, okay?
I will make a motion that we authorize putting out the bid and sending on finance for approval of the money.
Okay, I have a motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Myers and seconded by Mr. Truca. All those any questions, comments, or we vote? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Okay, motion passed. And I'll adjourn at 6:14 if there's nothing else.
Right, we'll call public lands zoning 614. Madam Chair, you had something to say?
Yes, per the council rules, under item C miscellaneous, what is it, number, which is it, 4? Item number 4. All committee referrals shall be made by the president of council during the council meeting. If an emergency issue arises, the council president may bypass the formal committee referral process and assign the emergency issue to the proper committee for consideration of study. And that's what I'm going to be doing this evening. We have an issue that just came up with ODOT, and they've sent in all of the paperwork that there is, how long is this, 1/4 of a mile?
Yes.
It's up on the north end of Route 4 by Route 19.
North of 19 and 100.
North of
1/4 of a
19.
mile that they.
1/4 of a mile that they need to repave. Our portion of this well, we'll get in, you've got it attached here. Our portion of this is like $6,250 to get this one done. But we have city property abutting one side of that. So that's why we have to be included in the project. So we wanted to get that legislation done the next council meeting, so it needed to come out of this committee tonight.
Okay,
So I placed that into committee.
okay, and that's what we're gonna talk about now, right?
Yep.
Okay, ODOT paving State Route 4.
So that's one of three. Okay, let's do that one first, the new one that we just talked about. So this is just an area up there north. You know, they paved Route 4 several years ago now, but there's one section in there that evidently needs to be redone, and so they're gonna come in and redo that.
You mean south of Andrews Road along, like, for the state highway?
Yeah, and north of where 19 turns off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, in that
Would you have a
here.
picture? Is there a picture in there?
Yeah, right here.
There's a map attached.
You're
Yeah.
gonna check me, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Check any fire, state highway. So our cost, Mr. Chairman, our cost is approximately $5,200.
62.
If you keep going back,
You gotta go back and look further.
It says that $6,250 for engineering cost, or
Oh,
the very last paragraph there.
number 7.
So we need a request for legislation for this. This comes with the information, you see it already has the PID number and everything else assigned to it, so this one may move through. ODOT has.
I make a motion.
I think that, because it does say it's a preliminary cost estimate, so is this subject to change?
Always, it's ODOT, it's ODOT, it's ODOT.
Just getting it out there so that way everybody's aware.
Yeah.
That's it.
Typically, the ODOT projects come in pretty close or below. They're pretty right on most of the time.
I'll make a motion to accept this.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
So that was that the only one?
No, then we move on to item 2.
I got mixed up there.
Yeah, they were mixed up. This was behind the
Yeah.
original, that's why, yeah,
Yeah.
confusing here.
Yeah, so now we're at item 2, and there are 3 of them altogether, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and you're up now.
You want north?
Yeah, Route 4 North, the
Okay.
project.
We had put in the budget for Route 4 North to be $175,000. It came in at $212,668. So that was an increase of $37,668. Can I keep going, Madam President? Can I give an overview? Route 4 South, we had put in the budget for $400,000, and it came in at $206,000 for our share. So we actually had a decrease of $194,000. So between the 4 projects, we still had a savings of $75,452.53. So even though we had an increase on Route 4 North of $27,668, that's not including the $6,250. So we
Okay.
still had a net savings.
Okay. So that you've got a copy of the resolution that we received from, or what we received from ODOT. There to do the work. This is approving the job. This is not approving all the little minutia detail, and I'm sorry to say, but bike path is minutia detail that will eventually be addressed but it doesn't need to be addressed for this piece of legislation to go through, and this is the one that they want by the 5th, 5th.
Well, they want it to be able to be passed on the 5th.
They want it to be
We
passed
can
on the
turn it into
5th,
the
yeah. Yeah.
So do we have anything on Route 4 South yet? Is that still-
We're gonna come to that one.
Okay. Oh, I haven't seen it, so.
Now, is this both of them, or is there another piece of legislation for South? Okay,
If I can, the preliminary legislation for PID 104117, that is for North Sandusky. I lined out the installation of the bike lanes. That will not be in the legislation. That is not addressed in this legislation. That is for down the road to be considered. After that, you have a draft resolution. The date is just a draft, the resolution is a draft. The PID number for that is 101356. That is for South Sandusky, well, Marion Road, I should say. That is for State Route 4 South, which is Marion Road. And that's the resolution date for that. And there is a deadline for that. They need that by February 1st.
did you hear that? That last piece has a February 1st deadline on it.
Okay.
For the south part of it, so what we're going to have to do is we're going to have a council committee meeting, or a council meeting, to address at least that one piece of legislation. You might do them all, at least, that's up to you how many you want to do it. That's
Just do them all at once.
Okay.
Have a special one.
Okay,
Yeah.
but that one just came in, that they wanted that came in today, actually, when I was in the office.
Yeah, there's been numerous phone calls today. Hopefully we got some things straightened around themselves.
Okay. So that's why he gave you he talked about the two numbers and things that are going in here. Now, the one on 4 South, does that include that intersection at Beale Avenue and,
Yeah.
and it goes out how far? City limits.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
this also does not include the bike lane in that either, does it?
No,
No.
As long as it does not have that in there right now, right?
those are it's other discussion items.
Okay.
Yeah.
As long as they're not in these resolutions, I deny it.
Okay, so you need to approve these 3 and move it on to finance. Okay.
So,
I'll entertain the motion.
Okay, I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Okay. All right, moving right along. Farmland bids. We do this every
3.
3 years?
Yes.
Will we do it quicker, sooner, more often?
That's a longer explanation for a lot to change.
I'm just kidding.
Okay.
All right, just,
I think everything's status quo. We just gotta have it to be able to go out and advertise for it.
yeah, it's property we own, the city owns, and we bid it every year, and hopefully we'll get someone will really be interested in it.
And how much do we make on that each year?
The last time we put it out to bid, we made $24,460.
Each year?
No, we put it 3-year period.
For the 3-year term, okay. And if you have any questions where they are, it's highlighted, everybody's is highlighted as to where those, where they are. Along Crowder Road,
Airport,
yeah,
wastewater plant,
water plant,
water plant, all-way reservoir.
wait,
6 parcels of land, correct?
yes.
Majority of it's airport.
And then there are restrictions on the airport one as to,
Height of order.
yeah, height,
Yeah.
yeah.
You don't want no corn out there?
You can't grow those palm trees.
Thanks for it, corn those.
Okay, can I,
I'll make a motion.
I actually, can I just
Okay,
want to ask one question real quick. Do you know, Jeff, what we charge per acre?
It's a bid.
It's a bid.
Okay.
So what happens is, there's a minimum bid, they come in,
What's the minimum?
I think it started at $250. Looking at this, I don't know, Joyce, if you remember, I don't have the spreadsheet in front of me, but Some of them, you know, one got up to $17,600. That was the airport property. So it all depends how big the lot is, you know, the acres
And then once they get their bid in, they can up the bid. You
Right.
go through that whole
If
process.
they're in with the minimum bid with a certified check, cashier's check or a money order, then they can, if they meet the minimum bid, then they can bid once everybody, we open all the bids.
No personal checks, right?
No person.
Yes, no personal checks, thank you, Dan.
Well, clarify that.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
just for personal knowledge, do we have any idea how many acres total is involved here?
Roughly, yes, you can add them up.
31, 7, about 135, roughly.
535?
135.
Sorry, thank you.
Roughly.
Okay, thank you.
You need to seek legislation
Yeah.
for that.
I'll make a motion.
Okay. Got a motion?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, with that, I guess public lands and buildings. We'll adjourn that at 6:27, and guess I'll have to take,
So you gotta keep going.
and keep going with finance, I'll call that to order at 6:27.
Yeah, cross out those other numbers.
Yeah. I was definitely not confused there. Yeah. So, yeah, mutual gate, I think we settled the mutual aid, right?
Yep, we settled that one.
There's no money.
Okay, there's no money.
Route 2 sewers, we talked about that, now we just need to,
Now, as we start through these now, we need, the Finance Committee needs to approve it and they need to vote on it.
right.
Okay,
So
and here's the, and that has the 10% in it.
Yes.
So what's our not to exceed number on group 2?
989, is this the group 2 yet? 989, 629.47.
And that comes all off of the loan, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
So this money, we have this money in loans, and, so it's just.
This is what,
it's just
this is
costing
the
them
second
more.
part, this is the second part of that whole Southern Avenue that was put in, and now we started, that started at the closest end of the river, this starts at the furthest from the river, and, the plant, so, that's how they do it.
So any I guess any questions from anyone on that? Okay, I'm trying to.
I'll move that we accept those numbers and put that out to bid.
Second.
Second, okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
You want this?
We'll move on to ODOT paving State Route 4. We discussed that too, and.
Okay, don't forget, we have a third one in there on
We
that
have a
one,
third one.
But it's a separate.
but it's
It's
separate,
separate.
yeah.
All three need to be separate.
Yeah.
All three are separate, yes, each one.
So first up was.
Route 4 north.
Route 4, clear north, right? The new one?
Well, this will be our share of Route 4 from Perry to the bypass.
Okay, so it's the old route, the Route 4
Yeah,
project.
original project.
Original,
North Sandusky, yeah, Route 4.
okay.
And that came from ODOT, our share is $212,668.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
your next full council meeting is on February 5th.
Correct.
So with respect to each request, if we could specify, if that date is fine, or if one needs an earlier date, we
Well, we were,
request.
we have to decide if you want to do all of these at one time at a special meeting, at that special meeting to have them ready for the 1st, which that one is required by the 1st.
All right, just get them out of
I'd
the
say,
way.
yeah, we have to meet.
Okay, because we're going to have plenty of legislation for the meeting on the 5th. He's sitting here with 13 signatures needed, so If we can get these three out of the way, it'll at least drop that down a little bit.
Do we need to schedule that now, or can we?
We can do it right this moment if you want to. When is everybody available?
Day that ends in Y.
Do what?
Sunday.
Why not?
Which day did he say?
Every day that ends in Y.
Okay. So you have to do the legislation.
Yeah.
Okay, so are you thinking like maybe
Well, this is a 5-week month, so
Yeah.
anytime that last week.
That last
is
week.
more than fine.
yeah. So if we did it on the 29th, which is a Tuesday, or would you
That's what I
prefer?
was looking at.
29th? What time? Is that a go? Yes?
Yeah.
6 o'clock?
6 o'clock? And it shouldn't take too long? 20 minutes probably? Okay, the 29th,
The casual dress?
it's casual day,
What time is it?
6 PM. Okay, that's a special
Late, I'll be all right.
city council meeting. Okay?
Yeah, this is perfect.
So now,
I'll make sure I wear my Ohio State
keep
sweater.
this,
Okay.
let's keep this all in order for the first, the ferry to, ferry to the bypass.
Ferry to the bypass.
At $212,668. Do I have a motion to,
I'll make a motion to move ahead on that.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, who seconded that motion?
Okay.
There's only two.
Okay.
Then we're talking about
Let's go
south,
south.
okay.
Yeah.
We're talking about the south, now that one came under bid, right? Is that what it said was going under bid?
Yes.
Does that start at the point or does it start at Southern?
No, it starts at the point.
At the point. Okay.
Oh, up by the bank?
Yes.
Okay, well, that's good.
And the price on that is,
That came in at our share at 206,000.
and that includes the 10%?
This is the numbers they gave me.
Okay. Because that's where those were all added, yes.
I'll make a motion to approve that project.
Okay,
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And then finally, the quarter mile of Route 4.
This was 6,250.
6,250.
I'll make a motion to approve that piece.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, I guess we're done with that.
Okay.
We'll move on to the fire department bid. I think,
You drive all the way in here for this?
This isn't what I was prepared for.
oh, okay, I know what this is.
Okay, our SCBA bid came in, over our top of what the maximum was, so we need to increase the maximum amount of what the bid can be. So we can put in a number of, 100 and, to keep us safe, 135,000. I know the last time, I think we put it in on 116.
116, 424.
And, yeah, the price increases.
How much is the grant?
Yeah, how much, we had a
We only
grant?
had one bidder.
Well, how much was the grant, I guess?
How much was the grant?
Well,
The
the
total was
grant was
one.
$159,000.
Yeah,
$604.
but there was hose and,
Oh,
nozzles and other appliances that was part of that. The air pack side, I believe, was like at 106.
So if we increase this to 135, how much are we covering that's not covered by grant money?
If it was actually to be to the whole 135, it would be about 30,000.
And what did your bid come in at?
It was 125, but it did not cover anything. The tax would be, it was 125,806, but the tax would be more or less useless to us. We would have had to have spent other money that there was no battery chargers or anything in that, because they were in as miscellaneous.
So you anticipate using the full 135?
It's probably more closer to 131. I was just wanting a little bit of leeway, just in case, so we don't have to come do this again, because we actually, if we would have had the higher number before and would have beat the price increases, we would have been down 117, 118. So it was just because we missed the price increase for the annual price increase.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Question for the auditor. Has there been any discussion at this point of where that additional 35-ish is gonna come from?
Well, that comes out of the fire levy.
Is the expired fire levy? Okay, how much was left in that? Was
Off the top of my head.
do we have at least 35? I guess.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it was over
Yes.
100.
That's all I want to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We were trying to.
Yeah, well, we had discussed needing it for an engine if we don't get that grant. We're still gonna have
Yeah, there's still be.
30 less.
Okay, well, that's important
Yeah,
thing to have,
so we need it.
so I guess I'll ask
Make
for
a
a motion to,
Increase this to 135.
Second.
all in favor,
Aye.
motion passed.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Sharon.
Thanks for, yeah, I mean, a lot of this comes from the grant too, that you guys
Right,
You guys
and I've
worked
done,
for and put in for, so it's not just, we're not just throwing $135,000. They've worked to get this grant money and just keep up the good work, so. Doing that, because it's saving everybody a lot. Okay, onward to enterprise fund reimbursements. Oh, this is the yearly dance we do, huh? Yeah.
Yeah. If you look at the third page of your handout is my memo, showing the breakdown. And this is reimbursements for the 2018 actual expenditures. The percentages are the same as last year. The only additional amount is for auditing purposes. I was told that for our phone lease that we're paying on right now, instead of splitting it across all the funds, I was told to just pay it out of one line and then let the enterprise funds reimburse the general fund for 1 month's payment for each fund. So that's what I did there. We used the percentages on everything else, but then I added that $862.21, which is a monthly payment to be charged to each of those funds. So the total this year, it did not change in the budget. We had budgeted $73,000 from each fund, and the actual came out to $72,860.73 per fund to be charged to waterworks, sewage disposal, solid waste, and stormwater utility fund.
Okay. Everybody get that? Okay. These areas are paid from everywhere. Just,
Motion to approve the reimbursements to the enterprise funds.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Now appropriations. You're under
Yes.
this.
And there is an additional from what I had referred the other night. And I didn't put those numbers up there. I was in a rush today. This has the paper choice, one for. Yeah, I didn't put the amount that we're, oh, this is the 20. We want to appropriate in the general fund, program 1, security of persons and property, in the police department, $20,000 to contractual services. And I just want to make sure this number, I believe, hang on just a second. 20,000, of course, is the grant we received from the Out-of-H Board for a quick response team project that the police department uses, I believe. The other amount I just deposited today, we received a check from Projects Incorporated for the Police Explorer program. And that was in the amount of $1,715.86. So we need to appropriate that to materials and supplies for use in the Explorers program. So I included those numbers in all the totals, I just forgot to put it in that left-hand column because I was cutting and pasting.
Okay. So, can I get a motion for those appropriations?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And any other financial business here? Okay. With that, I guess, first I'll call finance. So, 6:42, ending finance, and then I'll ask for any public participation out there. None? And then I'll ask for, oh, wait. Oh, I'm sorry.
Is there anything I can speak to besides what we've talked about as old business? I'd like the email maybe that we all received. I asked Mr. Wagner a question
About the water line.
about the water line.
Water lines in committee, correct?
Yes,
We're talking about which water line? The one on
the
County
one
Road 35 or
the one at water plant.
Bulk water fill
the bulk water fill-up? Did you get,
Well, I finally tracked down a list of everybody that we have that's hauling bulk water. I only got to make one call today, but we got a call into Lynn McKeever because right now we're stubbed out at a 2-inch and we got a 2-inch line going into the building and it's all 2-inch, but we took the regulator valve out, which helped the flow, but Lynn's supposed to run the numbers, Lynn McKeever's supposed to run the numbers to see if by us putting a 3-inch in, if that will increase the flow at all.
Okay. Well, yeah, see, that's what I was following up on because the email says it's 3-inch and it's going to be a 4-inch.
I think it's a 2-inch now. I'll have to double check it, Bruce.
And then as far as when I said water haulers, Paul Barker's the guy that got a hold of me.
Okay.
So you got a name to put with the water hauler. It's Paul Barker.
I don't remember if he was on that. I got like 6 or 7 on that list, but I'll get him called tomorrow.
He's the one that came to council and talked to us.
Okay. I'll get him called.
Okay, anything else? Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay. At 6:44, we'll adjourn.
thank you all. Don't leave if you're chairman of a committee. You've probably got something you need to sign.
It's all on this side.
It's all on this side over here.
Vote for McKeever and all the other ones.
Pass those down to Dan.